let's try this again. This is like my fourth intro. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am back and hoping to be back for a long while. So please like and subscribe and let's get into this video. If you've read the title, which I'm sure you have, this is a study tips video to ace your exams because I know it's exam season and we all want to pass. So first tip, let's jump straight into it, is to make a study schedule. You need to note down the dates of your exam as well as the time that you have left before your exam so you can allocate enough time for it. Also, side note, if you see me looking here, it's because that's where I have this stuff on my computer. So yeah. So it says break down your study session into manageable chunks and be sure to include breaks. So you just have to, like you have a timetable, you then make one study timetable. If you get what I say. Like put in time for break, lunch, just like your school timetable but for studying. The second one is to use active learning techniques. And if you don't know what active learning is, it's basically while you're studying, you try to recall and draw back on the information that you are learning. So for example, active recall is when you read something and then after you finish reading, you try to remember everything that you've read after. So it says here, passive reading won't cut it when it comes to exam preparation. That's right. So when you're reading and rereading, basically memorizing the notes, it's easier to forget. So it's best to like summarize your notes into your own words, maybe teach somebody else. Those are active learning techniques. So you employ those so that you can become familiar with the content because you've written it in your own words, you've explained it in your own words, so it's a lot easier to remember. Next is to use different study resources. So for example, the notes that the teacher give you, those are the best to use, but if your teacher don't give you notes like some of my teachers, you are going to have to learn on your own. So you use the textbooks, you use prescribed texts that the school is using. You use YouTube. YouTube is there, guys. It has every single thing. You use things like ChatGPT where you can just type in a question and it comes up with the answer for you to study, right? Don't just limit yourself to your notes because a lot of the time they ask question that requires a deeper understanding and maybe your notes will only cover the surface level. So just make sure you do a little bit more study and explore different resources because maybe even different resources may have like more in-depth. Also, it may all have like a different way of looking at the topic. And maybe if you're writing like an essay type question, you might want to have arguments for and arguments against, and you might want to have comparable views or difference in views. So that's a good one. I use it all the time. Basically, at the end, I'll tell you my study techniques that allow me to get good grades. Not the best grades, though. Don't get me wrong. But allow me to get good grades with minimal study. Alright, let's move on to the next one, which is number 4, practice with past papers. It is important to know the type of questions that the examiner will ask, and also looking at past papers will also help you to understand like basically the topics that they more frequently ask on the exam. So for example, if you've looked at a couple of past papers, you always see this question like last week in class I was doing it with my teacher. We were going through some past paper questions, and on every single past paper question there was the same question, worth 6 marks, and it was like to describe the arguments for and arguments against a certain topic that we were looking at, and it came on every single past paper question. So looking at past paper question not only helps you to understand the questions that the examiners will ask and what they want from you, but also the topics that you need to pay a little bit more attention to in your studying, so you don't spend time studying topics that never really come on the exam. The next one is to study with other people. I know that sometimes you're shy or sometimes your friends like to waste time. You don't always have to study with your friends. You can study with somebody else in the class that you're not really close to. But it helps you to get different ways of understanding the topic and helps you to understand it a lot more when you have a conversation with somebody else who's having the topic. Like yesterday, I was studying with my friend and we came up with two really different but really accurate ways of defining a word. We were doing a past favorite question and we saw the question and we both came up with a definition and we were both right, but we just put it in different ways. And now I'm gonna use a little bit of her definition and a little bit of my definition if I see that question on the exam paper. So it helps you to add more knowledge to what you already know by seeing different views of the same topic. The next one is to take a break. Guys, it is important that we all relax, get some downtime, get our brain some time to take in the knowledge. So as I said before, plan breaks into your study session, just like a school timetable where you would have maybe math, then English, then break, then science, then lunch. You do that with your study timetable because breaks are really important. If you are studying and just taking in information after information after information after information, and you're not giving your brain enough time to really collect it and deal with it, then you are going to forget that information, even if you studied really hard. So give yourself breaks. I think the best time to study is early in the morning. So if you can, wake up early in the morning where there's not a lot of people around, there's any dogs barking or anything, and you just wake up and you are there in silence studying. Also, your brain has just woken up, it's just been well rested, so it's ready to go, and I tend to remember things a lot more when I wake up early in the morning. That being said, it's really hard to do, especially for me, who's not really a morning person. So, but maybe you can find out what time of the day works best for you, because some people may just work well way into the night. So, you just decide for that. And remember to take breaks. During your breaks, don't use your phone. Don't use your phone. Unless you're using your phone to study, your phone shouldn't be in your vicinity. I use my phone to study because I like to watch YouTube videos and have them explain the topic to me in a different way. But if say you're gonna get distracted, just go put on your phone. Just put it down. And when you're taking breaks, eat something, drink water, go for a walk, stretch, whatever, but do not take up your phone, because taking up your phone on a 20-minute break will turn into 5 hours on TikTok. So just remember that. The next one is to mind map. So basically what it is like setting, how would I describe it? It's like putting all that you've learned into this big illustration. So for example, if you want to link back topics, because sometimes in your syllabus, topics that you've looked at relate to other topics. So you might want to, illustrate that link so that you can have information to write in your extended essay questions or whatever. So that's what mind map is. So basically, you write what you've learned here, then you link it to something else until you create this huge picture of linking your topics together. I found that It helps you to remember. That's what I should say. Right? So it helps you to remember and understanding like big concepts that you have. I'm not really looking at any huge concept right now in studying in my classes. They're pretty easy classes, so I'm not. But if you're doing like a science like chemistry, biology, that you have to break down like these big concepts, I think that's also good for you. Also, I would urge you to stay healthy. Like, don't spend, even if you cram for your exam, like, rest is important, food is important, breaks is important. Even if you're late, it's like, guys, it's better to get a lower grade and be healthy than to sacrifice your health for like a little bit of a higher grade. Remember, this is, it doesn't define you, doesn't define the type of person you are, the grades that you get on your exam. So you can just let it go, let it be if it's too much for you. And I mean too much um in terms of health wise, not that you're too lazy. Okay? All right. So I think those were all of the tips that I have. Yeah, it was all of it. So let me get into the section where I tell you my study techniques. First of all, I give myself about a month before to start studying, but I don't usually stick to it all the time because remember, we're human, we always procrastinate, and studying from a month before really doesn't make me remember anything. So it usually comes down to like a week or 2 weeks before the exam. That's when I start actually studying and really doing deep study. What I do when I study is I write down the dates of my exams and I plan what I'm gonna study based on the dates of my exam. So I order them in terms of importance. So for example, if I have like a subject like psychology first, that's a lot of reading, that's a lot of notes, that's a lot of understanding. I'll spend more time on that. But even if I have a subject like accounts, like way at the end, I still try to put in a little bit more of accounts practicing into my study time, because even though it's at the end, at the end you kind of lose that momentum, you're kind of getting tired and all of that. So even though it's all the way next week, I still try to practice a little bit of it so that when I'm ready to get deep down in there, I'm not just going in blind. Secondly, I write notes by summarizing what the teacher gave me. So in college, the teacher usually just gives you like online notes or their PowerPoint, and you have to make your own notes. So what I do is I go through the PowerPoints, I go through the notes, and I summarize them and write them down in my books. And that also helps me to because everything that I'm writing down in my books is stuff that is easy to remember, stuff that I put in my own words. So it's easier for me to grasp it. So I read it, I understand it, I explain it out loud, I write it down. And so when it's getting closer and closer to the exam and I'm going back through all my notes that I did, it's a lot easier to remember the topics. Next is I practice past paper question. So for now, I'm studying for psychology. A topic on psychology is conflict. And basically, it has a lot to grasp. But what I do, excuse me, what I do is that I write my notes on psychology. I do everything that I told you about just a while ago. And then I take a past paper question with a question about conflict, and I do that question. And I use that as a guide to see how much I've learned, where are the gaps in my knowledge about the topic, so that I can go back through conflict and say, oh, I don't remember this topic because I couldn't answer it when I was trying to do the past paper question. I'll read through it and I'll understand it. So that's what I do in terms of past paper questions. Finally, what I do at the end of every like study session is I blurt and like mind map. So it could be either, it could be both. So I just, after I've studied like a huge chunk of things, because I studied for a long while. Side note, you need to create like times that you know that you're gonna study for. Don't give yourself a hour of study time if you know you're not gonna stay quiet and study for an hour. Give yourself 25 minutes. Employ the Pomodoro technique and stuff like that. But yeah, what I do is that at the end of my very long study sessions, because I can study for hours if I really put my mind to it, at the end of the study session, I would write down everything that I know. I would say it out loud like I'm teaching someone, and then I would write it. And then when I'm remembering the rest of stuff, I'll kind of mind map it and link it together so that I can remember it a lot better. So yeah, that is how I study, and those are some study tips that I can give you. So that's it. There you have it. I'm looking here to see if I have missed anything, but I haven't. So I hope these will be of assistance to you. I hope you'll like it. I hope you will study because exams are getting like too much nowadays. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next videos because, as I said, I'm planning to stay for a while. Subscribe, the link will be in the description below, or you can just click the button, hit the notification bell, and share with your friends if you want to give them some study tips. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.